Dear students, welcome again to the course of leadership. I'm your course instructor Shehzad Khan Durrani, lecturer, Institute of Business Studies, Cohort University of Science and Technology, Hangu campus. In today's lecture, we will talk about effective leadership behavior and attitude. I have divided the lecture into two parts, part 1 and part 2. In today's lecture, we will try to cover part 1. So let's start. Our outline, it includes the style approach of leadership. Then we will talk about the research on leadership behavior and attitude. And it includes the study of the Ohio State University and the study of the University of Michigan. So let's start. First of all, we will start from the style approach of leadership, right? So style approach perspective, it emphasizes on the behavior of the leader. The focus is on the behavior of the leader. Focus exclusively on what leaders do and how they act. So it means that here the focus is on the behavior and the attitude of the leader. Style approach further comprised of two general kinds of behavior, and they are task behavior. It means facilitate goal accomplishment. You are trying to facilitate the group members to achieve the goals of the organization, right? And then the second kind of behavior is called the relationship behavior, right? So help subordinates so that they can feel comfortable with themselves, each other, and the situation, right? So if they are feeling comfortable with themselves, each other, and the situation, right, so that they can achieve the task efficiently and effectively. Some research on leadership behavior and attitude that was conducted between mid-1940s and 50s. Extensive research was conducted at the first study was the Ohio State University and the second one was the University of Michigan. The research is about understanding the difference between successful and unsuccessful leaders, right? So the study was conducted actually to understand the differences between successful and unsuccessful leaders, right? So it also led to modern concept of leadership styles, and then other leadership styles or the modern concepts of leadership were derived from the Ohio State University study and the University of Michigan studies. So let's start from the Ohio State University study. So the result of the Ohio State University was particular clusters of behavior were typical of leaders, right? So people are behaving, for example, within the groups. So the outcomes of the behavior were the same, right? So the way the people behave within the groups or within the clusters, right? So their outcomes were the same, right? So for this, the leadership behavior description questionnaire was created, right? And it was called LBDQ, the questionnaire. The purpose of this questionnaire was to identify number of times leaders engage in specific behaviors. So for this purpose, 150 questions were created in the questionnaire, right? And then participant settings, I mean like the target population were the military, the industrial, and the educational settings were actually the participants of this study. And the result was that particular clusters of behavior were typical of leaders, right? Then the other study that was conducted, and the result that they derived from that study was the two general types of leaders behaviors were derived from that study, and that study was actually called the LBTQX2 presented by Stockdale in 1963. That questionnaires was created for the study, the Ohio State University, right? And it was a shortened version of the first study, the LBDQ, the questionnaire, right? It was the shortened version of it. It means that less questions were created in the questionnaire. So most widely used leadership assessment instrument. So it was one of the leadership assessment instrument. And the result was the two general types of leadership behaviors were derived from that study, and they were the first one, the initiating structure, right? That leaders provide structure for subordinate, it means. And the second behavior that was derived from that study was the consideration. Leaders nurture subordinates, right? So what does it mean? Let's explain. So we have the initiating structure, that is leaders provide structure for subordinates, right? In order to assist their task activities or task behavior, organizing work, giving structure to the work context, defining role responsibility, scheduling work activities, right? And then we have the consideration, right? Leaders nurture subordinates. That is actually the relationship behavior, how you can building camaraderie, respect, trust and liking between leaders and followers, right? The mutual respect, right? The love for each other, helping each other. So that was more of a relationship behavior, and that's called the consideration, right? The next study that was conducted is called the University of Michigan study. So let's explain this concept, right? That is, supervisory leaders were categorized into two groups with respect to emphasis on production or employees, right? So the first one, production center, right, stress the technical aspects of a job, right? So it focuses on the technical aspects of a job, and it includes that leaders set tight work standards. There are tight work standards that you have to do it, right? The certain tasks and certain standards and procedures must be followed. Then organizing tasks carefully, right? Which task to do first, which task to do next, right? You have to organize that task. Then prescribe work methods to be followed. There must be certain work method and that must be followed as well. Then we have the closely supervised work of group members, right? The supervisor is actually helping the group members in the technical aspects of their job. Then we have the next one is called the employee center, which is called strong human relation emphasis, right? University of Michigan studies, the second one, and it emphasizes the employee center leaders encourage participation in goal setting, how you can achieve your goal, right? So they are helping them, assisting them in the goal setting. The next one is help to ensure high performance through trust and mutual respect, right? So that's more of a human relation emphasis is present here. These are the references that I use while making my slides. Thank you.